Right, so welcome to Build the UCAT. Here we go again, the much awaited video on verbal reasoning. Right, I just literally see everyone's obsessed about verbal reasoning. Of course, I don't see a reason why you would not be obsessed about verbal reasoning. Right, in this video, we are talking about a whole list of flips, flops, flaws and fixes. So in here, altogether in this video, we'll be looking at somewhere around 15 flip-flops. It will be a multi-part video. So we are looking at this as part one of the video. So this is part one, trying to go through the 15 flip-flops and why people flaw, 15 flaws rather, and what are the actual fixes. Starting from this one, the first one. The first one that we look at here is, now what's this flaw number one? The flaw number one talks about lack of strategy for UCAT. Hell yes. So the lack of strategy for UCAT. Many people are sitting UCAT aimlessly. Of course, I know. What's your goal? Your goal, you would say, is I want to get into medicine, dentistry. Of course, yes. What do you need to get to the goal? If I were to say, any goal that you set in life, not only academics, you have to have a strategy behind it. Otherwise, it's all the donkey work you're doing it, right? So how do we do the smart work and distinguish from the donkey work? What's your goal? Of course, to crack the UCAT. How do I crack the UCAT? What does it take to crack the UCAT? And what is it when we say I need to crack the UCAT? You will say, I need a minimum of 2,200 score that will help me to get my foot into the interview, and once I crack my UCAT, here we are. Right, next. Now, how do I crack this? How do I get to 2,200? The whole of the UCAT is sliced into, you would know, verbal reasoning, you've got decision making, you've got quant section, and you've got, of course, the SJT. Right. In this case, we're focusing on verbal reasoning. Now, when I say you have to have a strategy for UCAT, you need to know, how do I get to this 2,200? How do I get to this 2,200? Right? To get to this 2,200, you need to know what are your strengths first. So figure out what is your strengths and weaknesses. Out of these sections, is verbal reasoning your strength? Perfect, right? Majority of us don't have verbal reasoning as strength. Number one. Number two, decision making, quantitative reasoning, which is actually your strength. When I say a strength, that strength should help you to push up. Like we say, there are many ways to skin the cat or build the UCAT. Similarly, that strength should, if verbal reasoning is your weakness, you would say, okay, if verbal reasoning is my weakness, I just have around about 5, 6, 7 weeks of donkey work to do to push up my verbal reasoning. I can, when we go to the flaws and the mistakes and the fixes, later on I will elaborate more on this. That, okay, so what's happening? So going back to this, if decision-making quant is your strength, you would say, I need to, no matter what I do, I need to get a 700 plus score in DM. I need to get a 700 plus score in QR. Then there are strategies as well. I've not made a video, but this is usually, verbal reasoning, I usually hold it back for the paid, apologies for monetizing it, but again, for the paid users on Build the UCAT. Right, anyway, so I'm trying to give you a sneak peek on the strategy that I discuss with all the students. So if verbal reasoning is a weakness, you said, okay, what do I do to get to verbal reasoning, right? In order to get to verbal reasoning, if 700 plus from DMs, QR is pushing you up, you can more or less get satisfied with 670. Now, as we are saying, how do I get 670? This is where we go on now. There are many ways of UCAT strategy. So firstly, the review of the flaw number one, you don't have a strategy. What's the strategy for UCAT? Majority of us just sit aimlessly, do 15,000, 20,000 questions from Medify, MedEntry, or even Build the UCAT you are applying for doing, but that would not help you if you don't have a strategy. What UCAT requires is, UCAT requires altogether S's. First S, second S, third S, and then altogether we require a fourth S. So first S is you need to have a strategy. Second S you need is altogether a skill set. Do you have the skill? Literally for each and every section, subsection of UCAT and each and every style of question. If you've got the skill, okay, what does the skill involve? Do you have knowledge of the shortcuts? Number one, two, number three, number four. Do you have the speed? Sorry, sadly, I keep on saying it. People keep on repeating the GCSE ways of doing whether it's verbal reasoning, DM, quantitative reasoning, they are still sticking to the GCSE ways. I promise you, UCAT is not funny or silly to give you 184 questions which need to be done in 120 or 116 minutes, if I remove the breaks in between. That means the GCSE ways are not going to happen, not going to help you crack this UCAT. So what do? So you need to have awareness of the strategies, the skill, the shortcuts, and the speed. It is normal GCSE ways of solving. Ready? Okay, that means... Now, coming down to this, flaw number two, because we're talking about verbal reasoning, I'll emphasize mostly on verbal reasoning. Verbal reasoning. Now, if you look closely, you're not alone in blaming and cursing verbal reasoning. Verbal reasoning altogether, if you look at that, to be in this one, verbal reasoning, look at any section from altogether, this is from 2025. And if you look at past 10 years of history, verbal reasoning has always been the lowest performing subsection throughout. How much do you need to be, no matter what decile you are on, whether you are on the 9th decile or in the 1st decile, verbal reasoning is always the lowest performing score. If you see the average score is always the lowest for verbal reasoning, look anywhere. Now that means there should be a reason. Verbal reasoning is your weakness, not only your weakness of the majority of the students who are here now. Now, so when I say verbal reasoning is a weakness, so that there are two ways to think about it. First one, how about if I dominate verbal reasoning, I have an edge over the competition? Number one. All right, okay. If I dominate verbal reasoning, everybody who's aiming for UCAT is literally struggling with verbal reasoning. So that means first way to think about it, if I dominate verbal reasoning, if I end up dominating verbal reasoning, I get an edge over the competition. When I say dominate, you're looking at a 700 plus score. Then people would say, how do I get a 700 plus score? You again don't know your goal. 700 is a scale score. UCAT verbal reasoning section would end up giving you 44 questions. In these 44 questions, you got 21 to 22 minutes. That means UCAT wants you to attack each and every question. It gives you 30 seconds per question. Look at the speed now. So that means in order to get to 700 plus score, which is a scale score, how many do I need? In order to get to 700 plus, you need 35 out of 44 questions. So there you go. Now the strategy comes in. I am not aimlessly sitting down there and trying to crack each and every question. I need to get just 35 questions right out of the 44 questions. Right? That means that's the first way of thinking about it, which is, so strategy number one for verbal reasoning. Right? The way to look at it is, if everybody's flipping and flopping in verbal reasoning, so first way to do it, how about if I ace this verbal reasoning, absolute dominate this? What does dominate mean? I get 700 plus. How do I get 700 plus? I need to get 35 out of 44. Then we will talk about it later on. If you are a paid subscriber, you would see it on my videos. I give you strategies. I'll give you a sneak peek in this one here now. So that means if I need to get 35, how do I get 35? As we progress along this 15 strategies, flaws and fixes, we'll go through it. This is only part one. Right, okay, so the first way is dominate. Okay, never mind. I don't want to dominate because perhaps for different reasons. One of the reasons perhaps you're starting late, and there are many multitude of reasons. So first one, he said, okay, what's the second way? Second way is, I'm happy. I'm happy if I end up getting 650 to 670 as my score. If I'm happy to get 650, 670 as a score, how much do I need? Watch this now. I literally need something between 27 to 29 questions correct out of 44. Wow, that looks doable. So one more minute. Strategy number one, absolute dominate verbal reasoning. If I dominate, it gives me an edge over the competition, right? Making sure you are competent enough at DM and QR. Right, number one. Next, number two. I don't think so. I'd want to invest too much of time in verbal reasoning. If you ask from the club, which is the second club, I'm happy if I get 650, 670. How do I get 650, 670? You need to get anything between 27 to 29 out of 44. If you get 27 to 29 out of 44, you would hit your number 650, 670. And as we said before in the previous slide, I believe, yeah, there you go. You can make up for this you can make up for the lack of verbal reasoning, underperformance, or so to say mediocre performance verbal reasoning. You can make up for this in QR and DM by getting 700 plus. Right, okay, so here we go. Now, so how do I get 670 and 650 to 670, which is 27 out of 24? Now, firstly, in order to know about strategy, we need to know, last second thing, strategy of question type. Now, that's my third flaw. People don't even know, how do I carve a strategy? Your goal up till now, if you are, I'm catering towards, I'll start with the ones who are aiming for 650 to 670. That's your ultimate goal. And how do I get 650 to 670? I need to get 27 out or 29 out of 44 questions correct. Right, then, strategy for question type. Within verbal reasoning, as we said, there'll be 44 questions. Next, out of the 44 questions, of course you know it, there will be 11 passages. Each passage would have 4 questions, 11 times 4, 44. Now, what are the different ways? So there are different comprehensions, different types of questions, reading comprehension and true-false can't tell, TFCs I call it. You need to figure out which is your strength, true-false can't tell or reading comprehension, number one. Even before that, a bigger, better question needs to be asked. What is a percentage? How are those 44 questions split? The 44 questions are not split in 22 this, 22 this. Nope, it is not this way. Usually, The 44 questions, there is a different range. Last year was a bit of a surprise, right? Usually the range is somewhere around, you can keep it as a ballpark figure. The majority of the questions are from reading comprehension. When I say majority, you're looking at ballpark figure of 25 questions will come from reading comprehension, or let's put it 24 because multiple of 4. I've got 24 questions coming from here and I get 20 questions coming from TFCs. Now, based on this number, you have to carve a strategy. How do I get out of 24? Now watch option 1, which is a fix. Out of the 11 passages which I've got, first way of looking at it, which is my strength? Is reading comprehension my strength or true false can't? Because everyone's brain is wired differently, right? Everyone's brain is wired differently. You need to figure out which is your strength. Now, what are the different ways of how 44 questions are split? 24 here, 20 here, ballpark figure, right? It is not 50-50 for sure. It is not 22-22. It is impossible. 24 here, 20 here. TFC is always lower than reading comprehension. In this case, you need to say, all right, if I need to get 27 or 29 or 44, I've got 30 seconds per question. Ooh, boom. Instead of aiming to solve the 11 passages altogether, which is aiming to solve 44 questions, which is literally impossible, you would say, I need to be able to skip, shun, kick out, choose, cherry pick some passages. Now you would say, how about if I say I will read 9 passages? 9 passages only means I will attempt 9 passages. 9 passages means I will attempt something called 36 questions, which is your hit ratio. That means 36 questions is what you've attempted. Out of 36 questions, you can aim to get 27 out of 36, which is automatically become 27 out of 44. Please tell me if that makes sense to you, right? Keep thinking about it. That means in here, you will say to yourself, I will kick out of the 11 passages, I will kick out 2 passages, leaving me with 9 passages altogether. Out of the 9 passages, I need to choose which one is my strength. You can tailor it to your strength. If you're good enough reading comprehension, you will say out of the 9 passages, I will choose perhaps 6 passages, which is 24 questions altogether. So how do I get 9 passages? I'm choosing 6 passages, which all 24, and I have a percentage accuracy of, let's suppose, 80%. Out of the 24, in this case, you need to have 100% accuracy. Out of the 24 passages which you've got, I need to get 24 out of 24, right? Oh, there you go, I've got 24 correct. Now, if I got 24 correct, I need to get just 1 more passage. I need to get 24 questions here. I need to get 3 more questions correct. Right, then I will be able to hit. So one more time, different ways. Look at permutation combination. So first attempt is, I need to get out 11 passages, so forget about attempting 11 passages. 11 passages, you have to start compromising on your speed, right? Oh, that means 30 seconds per question, impossible. You're better off looking at, instead of 11 passages, you said, I will attack 9 passages. I'm cherry picking. Out of 11 passages, 9 passages. How do I cherry pick? We'll talk about that in the next strategy, in the next one. So, in here, out of the 9 passages you've picked, you've got 36 questions which are shortlisted. So you've got 36 questions. Out of 36, you need to get 27 right. If you look at the maths behind it, 27, 36. So what does the maths say? In this case, you need 75% accuracy. That means do the maths, 75% of 36 is 27. So that means you need to have, out of the 36 questions you attempted, you need altogether 75% accuracy. 75% of 36. Right, will give you 27. Next. How do you do this 75 and 36? You use different combinations, right? Let's suppose. So out of the 9 passages, I will say, depending on, let's suppose this student, this candidate is good enough in reading comprehension, he will say, I will try 6 passages from reading comprehension, then I will try 3 passages from TFC, true, false, can't tell. Or you can try a different combination. Another way of looking at it is, 9 passages, I will try 5 passages from reading comprehension, I will try 4 passages from this. Right, 4 passages for TFCs and 5 passages for reading comprehension, right? Altogether, I need to get 9 passages altogether, right? Now, as you keep on decreasing the number of passages now, let's suppose this person says, I want to try, out of the 11 passages, I will try 11 passages. So out of the 11 passages, 8 passages. 8 passages mean 32. This person says, I need 27. Now you see that? Now you need to get 27 out of 32. Your percentage accuracy shoots up considerably. If your percentage accuracy shoots up considerably, that means right now, what are we looking at? So we've got altogether, so if you want to aim at 27 out of 32 altogether, so you're looking at roughly around 85% accuracy. Ooh, that's too much. Now, so that means out of 85% accuracy, it's up to you. So this is the perfect number, which is get 9 passages. 9 passages means altogether I need to kick out, not attempt 2 passages. If I don't attempt 2 passages, then we will say how not to. Right, quickly. So that's the first one. Figure out question type, which is your strength. Reading comprehension. Next. Now, lack of strategy for question type. Let's suppose now we get to reading comprehension. This will be the last one, then we will resume in the next part. Reading comprehension has multiple styles of questions. First one, you need to know reading comprehension, what type of passage it is. If that's a historical passage, if he's talking about everything to do with history, everything to do with some passage from history, is that a newspaper article, right? Is newspaper article, is that a scientific passage? When I say scientific passage means, if you're a science student, I believe you are, now, all it depends is your reading speed. Now, sorry, I will just elaborate a little bit more on this. Don't want to make this video too long. I will continue this part 2 of this video. What is verbal reasoning actually testing you on? Verbal reasoning tests you on your reading speed. Number 1. Number 2, what is verbal reasoning testing you? You read. Are you able to absorb the information? Of course, there are multiple ways to improve that. Third skill which is needed is, are you able to retain the information? Many people will argue, is retain and absorb not the same thing? Hell no. The next one is, are you able to recollect and apply the information, right? Your ability to read is faster in a scientific passage because the language is much easier. Something to do with biology, something to do with the immune system, something to do with DNA. Oh, your reading speed, your absorption ability, retention ability, your recollection ability and apply is super high. Let's suppose you dislike, major absolute dislike of historical passage. Too many dates, too many numbers are there. Or economic passage, something to do with economy, something to do with numbers. Right? So if I talk about all these passages, or something about some absolute geeky passage are there, which is, oh, I have no clue, never heard of this topic in my life. So all that would do is it will take a hit on your reading speed, take a hit on your absorption, right? So you need to firstly know reading style. So what passage should I pick? This would help you to figure out of the 11 passages, I need to kick out 2, which 9 do I accept? This will help you to figure out, and these factors would help you to figure out. Right, guys, we don't want to extend this video too long. We'll continue with more of this in the part 2 of this video. Feel free to drop me a message or in the comments, what exactly do you like or what exactly you dislike? What are your challenges with verbal reasoning? We'll try to make this as a long, multi-part video, depending on how many comments, likes, subscribes we end up getting. And if you want to access Build the UCAT, you've got a free set of question bank, 15,000 question bank, lots and lots of reading speed. We talk about reading speed. We'll talk about the app which we built to help you in reading speed. Right, bye for now. Ciao, ciao. See you in the part 2.